Hey guys, what is up? John here from fly8micealpha.com in the hangar today with good old 07 Whiskey. Always wished that there was an access panel back here, you know, somewhere, just so we kind of look in the fuselage, see what's back there. I've kind of wondered, you know, what is back there? I don't know if you guys have ever wondered that. I think it's about time that we're gonna go ahead and make ourselves a nice little access panel here and see exactly what is in the fuselage of our Piper Cherokee. Safety glasses on, flip-flops on, good to go. I don't think we could make that any more jagged and dangerous if we tried. And let's open her up. And there it is, in all its dirty, disgusting glory. All right, let's go take a look here inside the empennage. All right, so fuselage, really what fuses the wings to the actual lage, right? What fuses the wings to the cockpit. The empennage is everything after that back here. So poking inside of our empennage here, first off, we've got, well, those are our turnbuckles for, looks like our rudder cables right there. So turnbuckles for our rudder cables, and that actually adjusts the tension in the cables themselves. How you can measure tension is it's a little tool that kind of grabs it and sort of deflects the wire and says, okay, you know, there's about this much tension, and the A&P or IA goes ahead and adjusts those accordingly, and then safety wires them like that. Then, of course, here we have our cable for our stabilator, all right? So we can see when we move this cable here, we have that big, heavy counterweight that moves. All right, that is a counterweight for the stabilator. We can also see the stabilator itself moving, and it's a little tough to move that cable because, well, if we look forward there, yeah, things are a little messed up there in the cockpit. The yoke's not looking quite so normal there. So we've got 4 cables that run back here, right? 2 for the rudders, okay? 2 for the rudders, and then 2 for the stabilator or elevator or pitch control, right? Then up here we've got 3 wires. Those are our trim cables that adjust the trim on that spool, and then this little guitar string there, that is going to be for your trim indicator to tell you exactly how much nose up or nose down trim you have based on what's going on. We've got a communications antenna up here. We can see how that guy is just connected right there. We could go ahead and undo that connection. And so we've got our little VHF wire there. We have our antenna, just a few little screws there that hold that in place. All these little rib nuts there that basically are screw receptacles riveted in. The purpose of those are, well, where our little streamlined fairing used to be, going up to our vertical stabilizer there. And then of course we have our communications antenna bolted in right there with a few screws we can see on the back side there. Other than that, not a whole lot going on back here. We could take a closer look back in here at the actual tail itself. We can see that rear bulkhead. We've got that big heavy counterbalance weight. We've got our pulleys in there. Those, of course, are for the elevator. And then we have a few pulleys back there for our trim, right up top there. Pulleys for our trim wires. And then we have a pulley off to the side there. That is for our little skinny wire. That is our trim indicator wire. And then we have pulleys back there on either side. Those are both for our rudder cables that pass through that bulkhead there. Now coming back around here, we've got a few little longerons, little stiffeners that are on our wall here. We can see, looking at this wall, well, that's what we've got. Basically just a few little pieces to give some stiffness that are riveted in there. All right, and we can see this nasty black spray, how it's kind of a little shadow effect, right? We can see that shadow effect there. Well, really that looks like somebody sprayed some sort of kind of corrosion blocker agent. We can see it's on this side of our little support, our little bulkhead there, not on the back side. So it looks like something was sprayed in here, probably from someone sitting up in the cockpit area. Something sprayed back here to try to protect the aluminum. And obviously they did kind of a half-hearted job rather than actually getting back in here, gaining access to this area and really coating it right. But either way, even the bare metal back here doesn't look so bad after all those years. We can see very little corrosion on this, this wall there. Now coming a little bit further forward here, we can see right there, those are our 3 wires that pass through our belly for our belly strobe. We can see that belly strobe is a little bit on the dirty side, a little bit of dirt and grease and things stuck to the front of it there, but that is your strobe light. For the belly anyways, different from the rotating beacon that was once upon a time up at the top of the tail there. That stopped working a while ago. So we come back through here, we can trace those wires that flow through here or kind of zip tied there and go to this little silver unit. The job of that silver unit, as you can see, Whelen, right? That is the actual, I guess transformer would be the best way to describe it. All right, it's putting out very high voltage. It's taking in voltage at 14 volts DC at about 4 amps or 28 volts DC at 2 amps. So you can either be 14 volt or 24 volt system, and then putting out very high voltage through these wires to that strobe light on the belly there. It's taking its power in from just a little bit further upstream. All right, that's just coming from that strobe switch there on the actual instrument panel. And then moving just right next to that, we can see our ELT. So that yellow box there is the ELT. We can see we've got this guy right here runs up into our ceiling right there. Try not to block the light with the camera. If we go ahead and undo that, that's just a nice simple little VHF antenna connector, right? We can go ahead and come back out here without slicing ourselves on all that sharp aluminum. We can see that, yes, in fact, that is going to be that antenna right up there. All right, so that little black whip antenna that we're looking at right there, that is what is for our ELT. That is what is right under here, what we just undid that little connector from. Now, as we come around here and look at the front end of this ELT, what we can see here is, of course, the antenna wire going into it, and then we see this little telephone wire going into it. That telephone wire runs along here, is kind of coiled up with a lot of extra cable there, like a lot of extra wire, and then passes through, runs up forward to our instrument panel, eventually to that little control panel there for the ELT itself. So you can actually kind of remote control the ELT from the instrument panel, actually either turning it on or resetting it. Now, the normal condition of the ELT would be sit here with the switch in the arm position. I can go ahead and unbuckle this guy. Unbuckle this guy. It says right on it here, forward. This is the direction you want it pointing for it to work properly in case of a crash. For it to be able to sense that crash, let's go ahead and take it out here where we have a little bit more room to work on our dirty hangar floor. We can see the date for the battery written right on there, March 2027. That means nothing to us. What we really have to do is look in the actual aircraft logbooks, airframe logbooks, make sure that that is accurate. And then as we look forward here, we can see those little markings on there. We have off, armed, and of course on. So if we go to arm, and then we hit this really hard, well, it's going to set it off. If we go to off, it'll make no noise. If we turn this to on, well, then we're gonna have that ELT sound on 121.5. We've got our VHF handheld right here set to 121.5. It is 5:02 p.m., so we were within the first 5 minutes of the hour. Let's go ahead and switch this to on and see if it works. Yep, it works. So you can hear that ELT going. If we switched it to arm and then bumped it, well, turns out you have to crash pretty hard to set that thing off. And our remaining few items that are left over in here, just a few wires that run back here, of course, for VHF comms, for our VOR antenna on the tail, and then we have a few wires that run back, of course, for our navigation light on the tail there, as well as power back to that rotating beacon that we used to have installed on the tail. Other than that, pretty straightforward. We've got one other antenna that goes through our hull, so to speak, there. So that actually goes through down to the belly. And if we come back around here, we can see that that antenna is an old antenna. It is that metal long one that runs back there. That antenna is an old marker beacon antenna that had not been used in many years, but had been left on the airplane anyways. Next time on Flight Mike Alpha, you will see us tear into the flight controls, removing the ailerons, the flaps, and opening up the flaps, seeing what is inside of them, how those flight controls actually work, as well as tearing into the rest of the airframe of the airplane, explaining all these parts and pieces to you. Definitely check out the playlist here on YouTube, along with over 100 more videos on the website at flightmikealpha.com from this Piper Cherokee project as we tear it all apart, explain every last little bit of it to you so that you can increase your systems knowledge, not only for your check ride, but also when you're out there flying your own aircraft, whether you fly a Piper, Cessna, or whatever it is. Remember, guys, if you can't fly every day, fly 8mikealpha.com. We'll see you all in the next one.